The deal is this. Tell you, when I was a kid, I read Dropper Anton Wilson and all this real. Tell you, when I was a kid, I read Dropper Anton Wilson and all this real. But I'm pissed. But I'm pissed. Come on. Why don't we? Come on. Why don't we? Okay, by the time we finish this, you're all going to be practicing magicians.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
This is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I talk about the X-Men. We're in the middle of the Planet X arc of new X-Men. We're kind of rounding home on this new X-Men run by Grant Morrison, and it's getting intense. It was just revealed that Zorn has been Magneto this whole time, and Magneto has separated the X-Men from one another. Scott is MIA, Phantom X, not an X-Man. We don't care about him anymore. Scott, Logan, and Jean in space. Emma and Beast are blown up in a plane. Xavier has been kidnapped by Magneto, and Magneto has his new Brotherhood of Evil in the form of his special class. Yep. And our cover here is of Magneto triumphantly stepping on the ruins of Xavier Institute while floating the Zorn skull like it was I don't know, like the beach ball or the volleyball in that Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah, like it's Wilson. It's also Magneto has finally got himself a comfortable flowing outfit like an ambassador on Star Trek Next Generation. Instead of that uncomfortable, like weird armor with the bolts on it and stuff. You know, like, this is the most comfortable Magneto has ever looked.
If you took off the cloak and you just put a giant A on this, that's a fucking chipmunk outfit right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is.
He's Magneto like he is just one
Charles.
Charles. Oh man, I love it. Yeah. Chipmunks with superpowers. Let's get after it, everybody.
Hey, Squirrel Girl. So we cut over to the beginning of this with him having like fucked up New York City.
Yeah.
You know, he's staying there. There are tendrils of metal going through New York, fucking it up. He's looking out on this like triumphantly on a sunset, saying, you know, one day, and imagining himself literally going through the streets, destroying all of the buildings.
Yeah.
Here.
This is how I feel like when you have like just a real great broken run in the Binding of Isaac, and you're just plowing through everything, and you're like, I'm flying through all of this. I don't care about it. This is the kind of, in the last episode, this is the kind of like zany, over the top supervillainy that like really, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've become so used in the last like decade or so since this has been out, or decade and a half, I guess, that like we've had much more interesting treatments of Magneto, just like with the modern movies have been all pretty good and not quite so kill all humans all the time. And I don't know, man, like something about this just kind of rubs me the wrong way.
This is definitely Silver Age Magneto. One of the things that because we didn't get to spend time with Magneto, so if you think about the part where he had Genosha and it was working and it got destroyed as the origin story for villain, like ultra villain Magneto, it makes sense as an endpoint, but we didn't get to see the points in between. Is part of it, right? Like I can imagine Genosha, which was supposed to be a genocide of unprecedented scale, turning Magneto back to, you know, Lord forgive me, I'm going back to the old me, you know, turning him into that Bugs Bunny meme, 100%. But we don't get to see it because we spend all this time with Zorn. You know, we get to spend all this time with him doing like, he reacts to something that should be a huge emotional thing with a careful planning. Bit. Like there's a lot of stuff that we don't get to see. There's never any like origin story of like Magneto surviving Genosha, which, you know, doable, right? Like I have no problem believing that he's incredibly powerful.
Yeah. It was a giant machine made out of metal. Like he probably could do something with it. Yeah.
And then planning his revenge, learning about Kick, trying it, and that's subtly influencing his thoughts to turn him into this weird, like 40 issue schemer, but we don't get to see it. Like, we just kind of have to buy that. And it does, there's a disconnect for sure. As we're kind of dropped into the deep end of the pool without swimming in the shallows,
And this is something that, this is just my bad comic brain. Like, if you have Magneto basically destroying New York in one single day, right? Like, he's literally floating through, destroying everything around him in one day, and has taken over the city. Like, where the fuck are the Avengers? Where are the fucking Fantastic Four?
There's like a panel about that. Like, it's pretty
is there?
tough.
I must have missed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll get to it. Like, it's hand waved, right? And like, you're right. Like, you're not wrong about that. That is a thing for every single comic book that's ever been, though.
Sure.
Like,
yeah. I'm not really late. And like, again, my bad brain is the one that thinks about this kind of stuff. Yeah. Like, it's not really the comic's fault. But I think what it does, though, is you see this huge event, and it almost feels fake because, like, I look at him destroy New York in the background with like buildings falling down and like millions of people presumably dead, and like, we're not going to deal with that. Like, you're not going to ever see we're not going to have like a 4-issue arc about like pulling bodies out of the rubble of New York City after Magneto did it. Like, so it's just always going to feel like nothing.
We got to see Magneto do that after 9/11. But we don't get to see like the 9/11 responders do it after Magneto.
After Magneto 11, which is what we call this day. It's weird that it was on the 11th.
Yeah, you're 1,000. Like, I'm not arguing with you about that. Like, you're 1,000% right. It's always been a thing with these fucking with comics, right? Like, I remember Planet Hulk. Like coming down, Hulk comes through and just destroys fucking New York, and then Doctor Strange turns into a big gigantic monster and fights him and just destroys a billion buildings and stuff, and just no fallout. Like, I think in the Marvel universe, Las Vegas was destroyed, and no fallout from that. Yeah. Like, it's just it's horseshit. It's kind of a shitty thing about comics, and I think the reason why maybe it clings more here is because Grant Morrison hasn't been working in that scale.
Yes,
like he's Genosha got destroyed, but that's okay because that's fakey. We don't expect that to impact real people. But this is something where it's like, like, if this is this big, it is ridiculous that they wait so long to nuke it. Essentially, or like, they can't have all the superheroes gone. The panel where they explained it is like they called in like a false threat or something like that, which is like such an extremely hand wavy thing.
Captain America receives a voicemail and alerts everybody, and it takes off.
Yeah, it's an Amber Alert, and all Avengers assemble, all like 87 of them. Like, I'm just imagining anybody sending 10 pizzas to Avengers Mansion and then just being like, "Well, I guess we must have ordered it." Here, let me get out let me calculate a 7% tip for you, soldier. It's silly. It's super silly. So no argument there. So he talks about calling the New York new Genosha. Mm-hmm. Kind of, and he's monologuing to Xavier. We don't know that. He talks about how he's tearing the X-Men apart one by one, killing them slowly, or he's monologuing to his team. Yeah, Xavier's not there yet. Yeah. Was it worth pretending to be Zorn? Yes, because the Empire will build here will be, have high-speed magnetic rails and anti-gravity public transport, and basically talking about his utopia he wants to build.
And on the next page, Esme comes into the frame and is like, "Oh yeah, hey, don't mind me who like did a lot of this for you. Like, just keep talking. Like I guess you did everything. Like, by the way, I brought Xavier here and your whole team. Yeah. Like, Xavier's naked. What do you want us to do with him? Why did you undress him? That was weird."
Like, he is naked. One of the things I really like about this is Esme is now really tarted up in how she dresses. And something that is a true thing for twins is that, like, if you dress them all the same as kids, that can really fuck them up. And then eventually they get to become an adult and they really, really show their own style in like a overcorrection way. Mm-hmm. And I love this as Esme like cutting her hair and dressing up in a different way to like differentiate herself from the Stepford Cuckoos. Yes. And she's like left the hive mind.
Esme gets in trouble immediately for using Eric's first name. He insists on Magneto now, and basically just says like, "Hey, you could at least say thank you." And he's like, "No, you're now my Brotherhood of Evil Mutants." And so we get the splash page of his new Brotherhood, which is all of the people from the special class and Esme plus Toad.
Yeah, Toad just,
up. Do you think he like went to get Toad because he's like Toad is just his guy, like his best bud at this point?
Toad built that statue and got himself a place on the team. that arc was also drawn by Phil Jimenez, and Phil Jimenez has, when drawing Toad, just has Toad's tongue sticking out for no reason a lot,
every single
including
frame,
while
dude.
talking.
It's really fucking gross when it happens when he's talking. Like there's a scene a little bit later where he's saying something to a crowd, and like I just blah, 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 blah. Like
it's also Magneto. I don't want to be rude, but your team is 20% babies by volume. Like, like it's pretty weird, man.
Oh man, yeah,
lots a lot of babies on your team. Like, but basically he's saying this is part of his mission statement. Like, I've turned the world on its head. The lowest are now the highest. Like, these were the special kids. These are the misfits and the freaks and the mutants. It's the Stepford Cuckoo who doesn't fit in. It's the kids, who are, not front and center at Xavier's school. And these are the people he's building his coalition from.
Yep.
Real Bernie Sanders shit. Like, he's got 1 million individual donations from people like Toad. He doesn't need the Cyclops super PAC to give him $1 million,
Toad's got $2.70 recurring every week.
Charles, I'm once again asking you.
If I'm bored enough later tonight, I might make that meme because that's very funny.
It's a good idea.
The next page shows us a little panel of all of the X-Men missing, plus Xavier have been neutralized by drawing the little X's over their face, over their profile pictures. Ernst is wondering when Mr. Zord is coming back. Like, she's kind of not getting that this was all like him pretending. And we are introduced to the dubious word via Basilisk, Zornvestite, which is aged, huh?
Yeah. Probably would not have happened here. Basilisk is not the most PC of the characters in general,
Mm-mm.
So I think it feels authentic to the character's voice, even if it's not something that I would write or support writing today. But Ernst is innocent. Ernst doesn't really understand. And everyone's sick of her bullshit. Like, Esme's like, well, you stop it, you little freak. Like, you've been privileged. You don't understand what's going on. And she's basically saying, like, I would never hang out with these people, Eric. Like, she's trying to ingratiate herself to teacher.
Yes. And also like that kind of sharpish attitude, like we saw a little bit of that at the mansion when she left, but now it's coming in full bore, and you're like, oh, has she, like, is this her mind deteriorating from the kick? Like, is this what we saw with Quentin Quire?
Yeah.
Because like he got angrier the more that he used that, and that seems to be what's happening to her as well.
Oh yeah, Esme is a total jerk. And the last episode where it's like Martha's voice has gotten all snotty and bossy. Like that's Esme. Esme is a villain. Zorn at this point is very patient. We're going to see patience run out over the course of this arc, but he's like, there is no Zorn Little Ernst. Like, it was just a mask, it was a performance. And she just keeps saying, yeah, but he was nice. Like, I liked him, because Magneto, the kids already know, like, this is horseshit. Toad, basically saying like, where did you find these losers? And he's like, we build our armies where we can. We're all losers once, remember? Because I don't know if you've ever seen First Appearance Toad, where he dressed up as a court jester. It's one of the least dignified supervillains I've ever seen in my life.
Also, his name is Toad, and he has Toad powers.
And he allows himself to be called Toad.
Like, if you were an armadillo man and your power was to curl up into a ball when attacked, you'd be better off than long-tongued Toad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they call me Shrinky. They call me Ball Boy. So Basilisk, of course, is taking the piss out of this. He's teasing Esme like, oh, you called him Eric again. You have an obsession with an old Zornvestite. You should have your own special website, which I think is a good joke if it didn't say Zornvestite. And she's basically like, I have nothing in common with you. Like, he's going to be the king of the world. I'm the person who really helped him. You guys are trash. He needs me.
Magneto starts giving this speech. So he's standing on top of a building. He's yelling down below. He's talking about the great day is coming. He's going to... his death was actually fake. It was just a virus designed to cripple, blah 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 blah. And then like realizes like, oh, they're not reacting. Like, where did you even get this crowd? And Toad's like, yeah, nobody. They can't really see you. The speakers are distorting your voice. Like, you've been dead a lot. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna have to work the crowd a little harder than that. And of course, in this frame, Toad just definitely has his giant, enormous, thick tongue and it out of his mouth. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's not just that it's out of his mouth. It's just that the tongue is so fucking like it's thick. You know what I'm saying?
It's very wide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's a really big tongue. Like, it's an emergency tongue. Like, anybody who had this would die instantly. So he's
how did Gary Butterfield die? Well, his tongue grew 6 inches. Like, long? Nope, not long.
No, I wishes. How the Grinch stole Christmas? Stole Christmas? Like, that happened with his heart? Well, Gary stole something else, and
Gary learned the gift of cunning linguist, and
Gary tried to go down on a bee, and had anaphylactic shock. So,
oh god, talk about a
I met her on Bumble.
I wish I could please my woman all the time.
Yes, so the planes come in, and Xavier, Magneto's like, oh, they don't believe it's me. Did no one tell them my name was Magneto, the master of magnetism? Doing his Silver Age villain thing, and disintegrates these jets that are flying in to try to stop this. And the crowd, goes wild.
They love it. But they don't pay attention to him long enough. They all start looking away, and he asks Toad, like, what's going on? And Toad, with his tongue literally wrapped around the back of his head, says, no one can see you up here. Like, they can't see who you are. And Magneto gets frustrated and is like, I'm going to go get some water. Like, Toad, you deal with this. And he goes into the bathroom with Esme, or their kitchen. I don't know why, like, what area. I guess it's just a bathroom because it has a mirror.
It's a cool looking bathroom.
Yeah.
But he's like, I need some water.
Yes.
It's obviously code.
And Esme is there for the kick. And he's like, well, I guess I can have just one more hit. Yeah,
he says once more. Like, he's there, and he's bemoaning basically the changes since he's old man yells at Cloud. Like, they lose interest so quickly now, I can barely finish a sentence. And she's trying to pep talk him, like, oh, it's just them. They have short attention spans and high expectations. They want the world's most charismatic super terrorist at the height of their power. They want the way you used to be. And he's like, oh, Kick, I guess I can try this just once more. When that's some real like addict. Like, I think that caused a lot of confusion for people reading this. I've definitely read accounts where people think this is the first time Magneto has had Kick. But it's not. Like, that is like addict language where he's like, oh, just one more hit won't hurt me. But he's been doing this for a while. To get his groove back.
Yes. And once he takes the hit, he starts going on to a super villain speech. Talking about all of the deaths in Genosha, how they were robbed by humankind, and he says, "I am Magneto. I do not issue demands here today. This is how it will be." Just basically going like on a long form villain rant, and then just starts destroying everything, and including like most of the crowd that's gathered in front of him. And he starts throwing vehicles at buildings. And then he says, Xavier and his X-Men wanted us to build bridges between man and mutant, but we can fly and swim and leap. We will have no need for bridges. And then he just destroys the bridges leading into the island. In a very like weird wavy kind of fashion, which looks pretty dope, I think.
Yeah. This is a great, like, just power porn. Mm-hmm. Magneto with 5 times his power is scary as hell. Because he's one of the most powerful supervillains. Continuing his speech, we have no need for human laws or human opinions or even human beings. Destroys the Statue of Liberty, which I love. No fallout from that or anything.
It destroys the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, like the entire fucking island.
Yeah. No immigration. He goes straight Trump administration on this shit.
Ellis Island confirmed. No Krakoa here.
Yeah, no Krakoa here. So we go over to the nighttime where they're kind of having this rally, and Esme is like just pushing the humans. She's holding a whip, but she's just pushing the humans around with her mind. Like, the whip is just for show, and just kind of making them march. Like, they're playing with them. This is dark shit, right?
Yeah,
like this is some Night of Broken Glass stuff. They tear apart a U-Man. Like, he's there, and they literally just like use their powers and rip him open.
Check out the mutant on the left hand side of that panel, which screaming kill the human flat scan. Like, just that jaw, right? Jesus Christ,
it's a scary mutant.
Like that, obviously, like she's gonna go evil.
It's like, well, they call me Deathjaw. I'm thinking about applying for the X-Men, but if they won't take me. And the kids are watching this, and they're not like uniformly into it. Like, Toad and Esme are like, hey. But Basilisk is like, only a total drug addict could think this up. Magneto hates these people, doesn't he? He's starting, he's still got a smile, but he's starting to like take it a little bit more seriously. And Beak, who we know is a good guy, this is not what Beak signed up for.
No.
Like, he's saying this is terrible.
Is Beak wearing a Green Lantern shirt? Is that what that symbol is? I don't really know Green Lantern stuff very well, but
let me take a look real quick. It's similar, but it's not the same thing. Green Lantern has like a flat thing on top. It's pretty similar. It's like a sideways Green Lantern shirt. It's the Green Lantern that caused the Great Chicago Fire.
AKA the worst lantern ever.
Yeah. Seriously, in the history of lanterns, like that's one of the worst ones, man.
Yeah, most of them have been pretty good. Most of them just shed light. That's good.
Yeah.
Good work.
Yeah, they got one job. So we cut over. Magneto is still monologuing over this, which I understand. Like when you're talking about how this feels so over the top and stuff. Like a lot of this is Magneto monologuing by volume.
Yes.
In the first half of this, and I can understand how it gets a little exhausting. I think they're trying to show him getting increasingly unhinged. Like the art shows him like really sweaty.
Yeah.
You know,
which I
at
can
this point,
appreciate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The kick stuff I think is also really interesting. Like again, having that explosion of power and then also having like the instability that comes with it, right?
Yeah.
Just like he's Magneto going insane. Like that's a really interesting kind of thing. It's just like all of this stuff again, destroying like, you know, it was at this point of my reread I realized like, oh yeah, none of this is going to matter. Like all of this is going to get wiped out via like Phoenix Force retcon stuff, which is fine and great. Like I don't necessarily mind the ending to all of this. It's just it lacks a little oomph when you reread it, when you realize like, oh yeah, he's doing all of this, but nothing of it matters whatsoever. Like it's all going to get undone.
Well, this stuff still happens. Like the Phoenix comes through and resets at the point where Scott is standing at Jean's grave. Like that's the point where history, but it's like fucking time travel shit, man. I can't blame anybody for not picking up on it because it's confusing. But like that's the articulation point that the Phoenix fixes. She doesn't undo all this stuff, even though Magneto is still alive because they so Grant Morrison always intended for this to be the real Magneto, taken over by John Sublime and stuff. And then Marvel was like, nah, we like Magneto. Give him to Chris Claremont to do like an absolutely unreadable series called Excalibur and the Ruins of Genosha. That's like one of the worst comics I've ever read. You know, so he shows up again. Callisto gets, instead of arms, Callisto has 3 tentacles on each side.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. Yeah, like what the fuck, man?
It's extremely bad. But originally the idea like was this all happened. But it can't blame anybody for not thinking it did because there's no fallout. Like where's the Avengers issue of them being like, oh shit, our house died.
Yeah.
You know, Jarvis, like just pulling Jarvis's skin out of the ashes, you know? Like
where's the issue of Spider-Man where he doesn't have any buildings to swing from anymore and is just walking around like a dumbass?
It's a run. Yeah. Like he has a good GTA his way across town. Where's unhappy Hogan? You know?
Where's unhappy Hogan at? Yeah.
Yeah. It's treated because of comic books like it doesn't matter. And then they do a thing about how part of this, stuff was undone. But the thing that was excised is the future, is that one, the Here Comes Tomorrow arc never happens because Scott decides not to give up. So, that's what the Phoenix did with time travel. So he's
Magneto is monologuing to specifically Xavier and saying like, your pacifist institute is where I train my soldiers now, a place for young warriors to be indoctrinated with a burning hatred and contempt for the genetically impure. Like a lot of flowery language and stuff. And he said he did have to redesign the institute, and we get this full screenshot. I keep saying full screen. This double page spread of the institute just totally on fire and him dismantling it like piece by piece.
It looks cool. He's walking in the air.
Yeah,
over it. This looks great. And then we cut over to Xavier naked in his tank with his modesty bubbles over his ding dong. And Magneto's like, so tell me I'm right. Do it now or do it later, but you will tell me that I'm right. Which I like as a line.
I really appreciate that anytime a supervillain gets access to like their good guy, right? Like their chosen guy, that they put him in one of these tanks and then just put a lot of tubes on him. Just a lot of fucking tubes, right? Like just, we got to put one in the butt. We got one coming from the dick. We got like 10. He's a telepath. So we got to put like 14 of them in the fucking head. Like, right. Let's put one in the spine just to see. We don't know. I don't even know what this tube does. I don't know if it pushes or pulls. Am I putting stuff in him or am I taking stuff out? I don't know. Let's just put it somewhere.
The spine unremover. Uh-oh.
This one is either for a thumb or a dick. I can't tell. I don't know which one I'm supposed to clip it on. This one has alligator teeth. It must be for nipples.
What does a human need in water? Well, air. We might as well be sure, though. Like, let's give him a lot more than air. Yeah, it's pretty silly.
It is pretty silly. And I don't mind. Like, this is classic X-Men stuff. Like, I had some complaints when we started talking about this, and I still have those same complaints, but like you said, it's still the best arc of X-Men probably ever.
Run.
Run,
like
excuse me.
This arc
like,
is not the best run in the best arc in this run by any means, but
yeah,
the run is still extremely good, I think.
Yes. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Like, obviously we know, but kind of running through this with you is always fun. So I'm looking forward to the next issue.
It's been really satisfying to see how Magneto, Sublime took apart the X-Men, and then over the next couple issues, watching them put themselves back together is really good. It ties into the themes really well because it's not the X-Men who do it; it's like the kids who lead the charge and like end up putting together the Resistance. Which is like really important.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
To the old ways not counting. Like, there's still like a billion really, really good things about how this articulates.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot. I know I brought up this comic before, but it's just like Grant Morrison's Marvel work around the same time. Fantastic 1, 2, 3, 4. Is really good. And that's real also fun. Dr. Doom systematically taking apart the Fantastic Four and then them coming together to put themselves back together.
Yeah.
Very similar stories to this arc, actually.
Yeah, that shit works really well. I like that run.
It's good. It's just a miniseries. It's weird. Like, if you just want to read one really good Fantastic Four story, that's a good one. So we'll be back with the continuation of this. This is a 5-issue arc, so we got some time left. Next in a couple days. If you want to support this network, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv or go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating or review.
Yeah. Do both of those things. If you want to talk about your feelings about the new X-Men as we're getting closer to wrapping up the full run, we're going to do a feedback episode. You go to daysoffuturecast.com/contact to send us a message. You can also go to DOFC Podcast on Twitter and DM us, or use DOFCpodcast@gmail.com to email us. All of that stuff will come to me and I will put it in somewhere in the feedback episode and we will talk about your opinions. Thank you everybody for listening. We really appreciate it. We'll be back in a couple more days.
Absolutely.